Good evening. Welcome to Shine a Light once again with yours truly, Kenitha McCartney. And it's so great, it's so wonderful, it's so exciting to be back in studios. We have yet another exciting, insightful program here for you on Shine a Light this evening. Today we have in studios Pastor Chance Cunningham. And she is all about women empowerment. She's all about empowering women. She's all about helping women develop to be better wives, to be better mothers, to be better sisters, to be better in the community at large. And so I know that we are in the light this evening. Saints, even when I think about I was just thinking about the other day when I was watching a program. I think I was watching a Joyce Meyer program. Good evening, welcome to Shine the Light.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
We are so excited to have you on the program today.
I
I was
am
just about
so
to tell the
excited to be
viewers.
with you all.
Excellent. I was just about to tell the viewers. I was watching a program the other day, and I was just thinking about what if when I think about the great men and women of God, what if they had rejected the call to answer the call of God on their lives? Like where would we be? And when I think about women of God like you who have taken up the call of God and have accepted the mandate that God has placed on your life. And when I look at you, how you are all about empowering women and how you've accepted the call. And if you were to think that, you would, say to yourself, I'm not about this. I'm not about laying my life down to help empower women. Like, where would the body of Christ be at large for women like you who
Right.
have chosen to accept the call of God?
Right. Right. I am just first of all, I'm so excited to be a part. You see me, I'm still adjusting my camera. I'm just excited to be a part. I want to say, first of all, thank you for the opportunity. And I think what you are doing is simply amazing. I think it's amazing. In our generation, you don't find many people who really just literally shine light on what other people are doing in ministry. So I commend you. Keep doing the great work of God that you are doing.
Thank you.
Um, I just believe that we need each other as women. We
Mm-hmm.
need each other. When I was younger, I didn't spend a lot of time with other girls because we were so catty, we were so dramatic, we were so messy, and I'm a bit of a tomboy. I was a bit of a tomboy. I'm still a little now. But I played basketball, and majority of the time I played with the guys because I didn't like, interacting with girls that much. Now I did have friends who were girls, but I didn't like interacting with girls that much. So as I grew older, I realized how important it is for us to share um the transparency of the experiences that we go through. I think it's so very, very important as women for us to continue to gel together, because there is one thing I believe with all of my heart. I believe that if we can, as women, come together and build each other up, we could really change the world. I
Yes.
believe that it's a lot of things in the world that wouldn't be going on if we could really, really like come together, encourage each other, empower each other. We spend a lot of time hiding our insecurities, our struggles, the things we've gone through. And that's one thing about my ministry. I really endeavor to be transparent as I possibly can, because that's what helped bring other women out. That's what helped win them. So yeah, if it wasn't for women stepping up, accepting the call of God on their life, I believe we'll just be totally like
Lord.
lost,
Yes.
lost, alone. Yeah, so
Yeah, and that's why I was so excited about doing the interviews. When I think about women and men of God who actually have chosen to sacrifice their life to say, you know what, let me be that sacrifice that someone may hear the gospel of Jesus Christ, that somebody's life may be changed.
mhm,
Because it comes with a price. A lot of people see a lot of persons sacrificing their life and choosing to take the call
yes.
of God, but it comes with a price. It comes with a hefty price. And my first question to you, like, what has it been? How has it been with you accepting the call of God on your life? With you saying, you know what, God, I say yes. Like, what has it been like?
Um, I mean, to say it's been challenging is just like That's small. When you say yes to God, you say yes to the process. You say yes to all of the tests. You say yes to all of the struggles. When you say yes, I accept this call. You say yes to every single thing that comes with it. And when you do say yes, you're not aware of every step, every hurdle that you'll come in contact with. So, I mean, it's been rough. It has been rough. I've endured whoopings from the Lord. I have endured being broken down emotionally. I have endured stretching. Like, I have to stretch. When you say yes, you have to stretch. You got to stretch beyond your comfort zone. So it has been challenging, but nevertheless, it's been amazing because um, I think about the things that I've gone through. I think about the things that I'm faced with. And one thing in the back of my mind that I always remember is I have to make sure I pass this test because there's a woman somewhere that
Yeah,
I will encounter that I may have to minister to based upon the test that I'm going through right now. So let me
yeah,
make sure I pass it. Um, it's challenging. It's definitely a process. And I think we always very often we try to skip, we try to skip, we try to hurry up and get to the glamorous stages and the platforms and where everybody
yes,
our name and where people are just beckoning for you to come here and go there, but right here is the most intimate part. It's the most vital part, and it's a struggle, but it's the blessed part of it all. It's the blessed part because you'll look back. I look back and I think about some of the tests that I've gone through, and I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Now I have the wisdom to be able to minister to somebody else. But it's challenging. It's a struggle, but it's worth it. It's
you
worth
know,
it.
when you look back over some of the person's lives who God has talked through your lives, like what can you give us like one of the greatest testimonies that God has allowed you to minister to somebody with your life thus far.
Okay. Um Thus far, I can remember, I think one of the greatest testimonies for me is my grandmother raised me.
Uh-huh.
And as a young girl, I always wanted my mother and my father in the household together. I had this, like girls, we have this picture perfect life of what a family should look like in a fairy tale. But my grandmother raised me, and when I was about, I want to say 6 or 7, we moved from Chicago to Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
And in that process, I was young. I didn't understand. I didn't understand why we have to uproot our lives from somewhere that we've been and we know and we're familiar with and we're comfortable with, and all of our family is here. And why do we have to uproot our life? But then once we moved, I realized because the relationship I had with God as a child was simply based upon going to church.
Mm-hmm.
Just being active in church because I'm a child. This is what grandmother says. But when she moved us to Arkansas, years later, as I grew, as I matured, I realized that this was a God move. Because during that time, that's when I really found out who God was. I really found out that just going to church is not enough. He has more for you. So that's the greatest testimony of my life, being able to overcome what you are used to, being able to overcome what you don't understand, because the Bible says that he'll give you peace that surpasses all understanding. So I had to have peace within that transition because I realized that, okay, this is why God had us to do this. This is why he prompted my grandmother to do this. So I think that was the greatest testimony of my life, being able to minister to someone else, because it pushed me past what I was used to, and it pushed me into a realm and into a position to where I could learn God. I can figure out who he is. And even though it may have been the most challenging thing of my life, it was the most greatest thing of my life. So being able to minister to somebody else, your most challenging moments of your life will bring the greatest blessings. I
Mhm.
think about it, and I can't imagine having to still be in Chicago. I think like, Lord, where would I be if I had still been there? So the
Mhm.
most challenging moments of your life brings the greatest blessing. So that's a testimony, that I just think one of my greatest testimonies that I could share with another woman.
Excellent. You know, I being a leader, I know that being a leader is not easy. You have to deal with so many different personalities. You have to
Yes.
deal with so many things. And my question for you is like, what do you think is the most challenging, most part about being a leader?
The most challenging part of being a leader, a lot of people will probably say it is managing personalities. That is challenging, but I think the most challenging part of being a leader is being able to endure, being able to suffer long with people who are wounded, who
Mm,
need you. So you have to push past yourself and what you feel and how they hurt you, and saying that they'll be at church Sunday and then they don't show up, or saying that, I'm gonna call you, I'm gonna talk to you, and I'm gonna let you know what's going on, and you're praying for people and you're preparing sermons for people and they don't show up. It's you have to push past all of that. So you have to
wow.
bear the
I never thought about
offenses.
it like that.
Yeah, you have to bear the offenses and the injuries of others, and you have to bear it with meekness. You have to bear it. You have to be long suffering. You got to keep smiling even when it hurts. So it's not even all about managing the personalities. It's about being able to handle your emotions the most godly way, to continue to lead them, because they're still injured, they're
Mhm.
still hurting, they're still broken. So how do you still lead them? How do you still present Jesus to them without being in your feelings? I think that's the most challenging part of
Mhm.
being a leader.
Wow. I never thought about it like that. I mean, for somebody else, looking at me being on the other side of the playing field, I would think about the most challenging part about being a leader is probably dealing with different personalities. I never thought about it having to be able to endure. Like,
Yeah.
you put so much, like my sister prophetess Kenria Kelly, I can tell you, from just watching her, it takes so much, so much out of you just to prepare a sermon. You have
Yeah.
to take 3 days aside, studying, putting scripture together, find out what this word mean, and then to find out, you show up to church and nobody's there. I never thought about, how it's gonna take so much for you to control your emotions, to say, you know what, I sacrificed so much to put the sermon together, yet, to look and to see nobody shows up. I never even thought about it from that aspect.
Yeah, it's almost like cooking a meal. If you cook this big old spread, I mean, you got your turkey, your mashed potatoes, your greens, you got all of this good stuff, the jiffy cornbread and all of that. You got it all laid out, and you're expecting 30, 40, 50 people. You've put your time into it. You've put your energy into it to prepare this meal. You set this beautiful table and you've laid it out to make sure that it accommodates everybody that's going to show up. Some people may not like chicken, so you may have to cook a different type of meat. You may have to cook steak or turkey, whatever the case is. So you make this grand meal, and then no one shows up. Immediately we're in our feelings like, no way, I'm talking crazy to everybody. So when you look at it from that aspect, when you're a leader, that moment where you feel like I have done all I can to put this sermon together, or to organize this event, or to make sure that they have opportunity and they have a chance to grow in their gift that God has given them, you got to suppress those feelings like, okay, it's not worth it, because most leaders get to that point where they like, it's too much, it's not worth it. But being a leader, and my husband says this all the time, being a leader, you have to bear the offense and the injuries of others, and you gotta do it the most meek way possible, most meekest way possible,
Go ahead.
to still be able to present Jesus to them. So yeah, it's a lot of different things that you face, that's challenging being a leader. But I think managing your own emotions and feelings is one of the greatest.
Excellent. So, what has the process Pastor Cunningham, what has the process been like? Because a lot of times, a lot of persons who now walk in the call of God so strongly and so confidently, that was not always their position. It took them a
Right.
time to get to that place where they fully embrace. It didn't matter what people thought of them, that they know that God has called them and that they're walking in it unapologetically. So, how has it been for you being able to walk in the call of God? How has the process been for you? Because not all the time that we say that we understand we have a call of God in our lives, that people actually embrace what God has called us to do. Sometimes people
Right.
can't see what God has placed in our life. So how has the process been for you?
Um, and am I free to be transparent?
Go right
Because that's the
ahead. That's what we want.
so I remember when I first married my husband, I was preaching probably a year before I met him. And then once we started dating, I was still preaching. But the background that he came from, they didn't believe in women preachers. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, geez, I date this guy who his life is like, no, you cannot preach. Um, and then when we got married, I transitioned from the church I was at. By the way, my old pastor, who is still like my spiritual father, Jermaine Whedon, you did an interview with him.
Oh,
He is
that's your pastor? Wow.
Yes, that was the church that I went to. He birthed me in the spirit. That is my spiritual father. I love him so much. But I had
Excellent.
to leave. Yes, I had to leave his ministry and transition and go to my husband's ministry, and I could not operate. I could not preach. I could not do anything. Just about, especially anything that I knew God called me to do. It's like, girl, you must sit down. So, that entire process tore me down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it tore me down, and I lost myself. I lost my identity.
Mm-hmm.
I lost confidence in myself. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't. I questioned God. I was like, okay, Lord, if you called me to preach, why would you allow me to go through such a period in my life where I'm not able to even do what you called me to do? Are you sure that's what you called me to do? Like, did I mistake? Like, did I mess up something? Am I on the right track? I questioned God. I lost myself. I lost my confidence. I was very insecure. I was very timid. And so going from being at that church for 2 years, and then the Lord calls my husband to preach. So it's like, I mean, to pastor. So it's like now we're transitioning out. And it's like, okay, now you have the opportunity to do everything you do. But what do you do when your opportunity comes, but you're coming out of a wilderness place? And you have not even had room, chance, opportunity to prepare yourself. All I knew was, okay, this is my chance. But I was not prepared. So as we walked into pastoring True Generation, I was very insecure. I was like, Lord, I struggled so hard because I'm a young woman. There are people who are a part of our church that's older than me. How do I lead these women? How do I
Mm-hmm.
minister to them? How do I minister to the areas in their life where they're struggling when they've experienced things longer than I have, or they probably
Yes.
experienced something that I have never ever encountered? How do I minister to them? So I was very, very insecure. I was like, oh my God, I became stressed out. Um, Over the course of the 2 years we've been pastoring, I've dealt with depression. I have dealt with anxiety.
Wow.
And these are just things that you face when you are in your process. But
Mm-hmm.
I have come to a place in my life where I've just embraced the fact that, God, this is who you said that I am. And because you put this call on my life, I know that you have graced me for this place. So what the enemy does, he builds up all these different emotions and all of these different roadblocks and potholes and hurdles, depression, anxiety, insecurity, not being prepared. He throws all of that at us and like, okay, yeah, God called you to do this, but look at what's before you. But I had to finally get to a place where I said, you know what? Enough is enough. I am who I am, and obviously God ain't changing it no time soon. So I may as well embrace it. The process brings a lot that we would much rather not deal with. Our process, a lot of other people process, it brings storms, it brings struggles that we would probably just say, hey, I'm good without that. but it tests you to see, can you handle it? Because the place where you're going, you may face warfare or struggles that's much greater than what you've seen in your process. So it's about just preparing you, and it's conditioning you. I remember when I played basketball, we would, the first month or two before the season started, we would run bleachers, we would run line drills, we're lifting weights, and what they called that was, they called it conditioning. So what
Mm.
our process is, it's nothing but conditioning. It's building your muscle. It's building your spiritual muscle. It's building your mindset and your spirit man and your prayer life and your study time to be able when to perform once you hit the court. So my process has brought a lot that I could have done without. I feel like I'm just like, okay, God, you could have saved that struggle, but it's preparing me. And again, it your everything that you deal with, some it's gonna be somebody that you encounter that has gone through that. So I encounter a lot of women, even in our ministry, who don't really know who they are, haven't really come into the fullness of who their identity or who God has called them to be. And I think back to the place where I sat in a church where I could not do anything God called me to do, and I struggled with my identity. And that's the moment where I thank God. I thank you, Lord, because I went through that so I can perform properly with these people that I have to deal with.
You know, even as you speak, Pastor Cunningham, when we look at the problem worldwide, you talk about anxiety, you talk about depression. There are so many young women, not just young women, but young men and women at large that are committing suicide, that are just giving up on life. They're just thinking like it's not worth it. That is given into anxiety, that is given into depression. And what I would like you to do at this time is like, but those who are watching or may watch this very interview and that are struggling with anxiety, struggling with accepting themselves, struggling with accepting the process that God has allowed them to walk through, I would like you to take this moment right now and speak life into those that would watch this interview who are struggling to embrace or to endure the process that God has allowed them or their decision has allowed them to walk through.
Absolutely. So I used to I used to demonize everything. um People talk about, oh, I have anxiety, I take medicine. I'm like, girl, you just need to be delivered. But it wasn't until I actually dealt with that I found myself in such a low place, and I found myself researching and seeking help outside of the church. So I want to speak life to those who have dealt with depression, anxiety, um suicidal thoughts, low self-esteem, low self-confidence, lack of identity, don't know who you are, don't know what you're called to do. I want to speak life to that. There is nothing wrong with seeking out help. What you need is the Spirit of God, but you also need to be able to verbalize how you feel, because a lot of us that have gone through this or who are currently dealing with this or who struggle with this, it's not something that we will wish upon somebody else. It's not something that we probably even asked to deal with ourselves, but it's okay to be able to speak out on it. A lot of us deal with these things privately because we are ashamed, and that is a part that I really want to bind up, because God has not given us the spirit of fear.
Yeah, that's
He has
right.
given us power and love and a sound mind. And so with power comes the ability to be able to verbalize how you feel. So I do want to speak life into those. You are much stronger than you really think. And all it takes is a moment to say, I want to come out of this. I want to deal with this the most proper way possible. Seek out help into from an individual who is trustworthy, from an individual who you can trust with your secrets, your struggles, your pain, your hurt, somebody who can actually go beyond this interview, and you can touch, and that can pray with you, and that can speak life into you. People who can give you practical, natural tips on how to deal with what you are going through. I found
Yeah.
myself researching, how do I deal with anxiety? So research shows, study shows that when you drink caffeine or you drink coffee a lot, it boosts the ability to deal with anxiety or have anxiety attacks or whatever the case is. So I try to cut back on that. So you have to research what you're dealing with. Let me tell you something. We
I
as Christians,
agree with you.
we as Christians, we skip over the natural part that God has blessed medicine and science and all of that stuff to be able to help us. We skip over that and we just think, well, if I can't go to church and be helped in that area or in that environment concerning what I'm dealing with, then I can't be helped. No, you better do some research, look into what you are dealing with, stress, how you can lower it, low self-esteem, how you can build your self-esteem, depression, ways to boost how you feel about yourself or just how you feel about life in general. Research that. That's a part that we leave out. But also, you need the power of God. So I just want to encourage you guys, anybody who's watching, anybody that may watch, yes, we need Jesus, but yes, we need the natural side as well.
Totally
We
agree.
need to know how to deal with these things. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be afraid. And you are not alone. The biggest part of my ministry is mainly about being transparent and letting other people know whatever you are dealing with, you're not the only one that has dealt with it. And you will not be the only one who ever goes through what you're
No
going
other
through. You're not
laugh.
alone. You are not alone. There are people who are just waiting for you to say, hey, look, this is what I'm going through, to be able to minister to you, pray you through, and walk you through with practical tips. So I just pray that you guys will be encouraged with whatever your process may bring you, whatever life may throw at you, because we're a lot stronger than we really think that we are. And our most weakest times is when we feel like we're nothing, when we feel like we don't have anything and we don't have anybody. It's going through that process. It's when God is trying to use these struggles to build you, because there'll be somebody that you encounter that will need you based upon what you've gone through. So you're not by yourself. You're not by yourself.
And I totally agree with you. So, well, how? Because I know that it has made a big difference in your life. Like, what has having a spiritual father done for you? Like, how much of a difference has it made in your spiritual life having a spiritual father?
It has made a world of difference. Um, Before I came into contact with Pastor Whedon, um, I had a pastor, but I was a part of a Baptist church,
Mm-hmm.
and this is no shade to anybody, but the church that I was at, it was like, the old traditional, you just go to church, you sing the songs, no music, you get the word. It's probably going to be the same word every week. This was just what I dealt with. No shade to anyone else. But
Exactly.
I grew weary in my spirit, and I just felt like, God, it has to be something more out there for me spiritually. So I was seeking out what my purpose was. I was praying, and I remember going to Pastor Whedon's church, and one of my friends, she was preaching her first sermon. I wasn't a member, but I went to just support her. Um, and I went to kind of, get a boost because I had been dealing with so much. So I just went, and he ministered to me that day. He didn't know who I was. I didn't really know who he was, but he ministered, and he told me, I'll never forget. He said, "You've been praying, asking God what your calling is, and the Lord has called you to preach." And I was blown away because I was like, okay, God, that's the same thing you've been telling me. That's the same thing you've been showing me. And so it wasn't long after that I had a talk with my grandmother, and I told her, listen, I was only, I was 15 at the time. I said, I'm looking for something more spiritually. So I'm ready to transition from going to the church that we go to, and I'm going to go over here. And she was like, okay. She understood that I needed something else. And so when I joined his ministry, it was not just going to church. It wasn't just going to church, having that awesome experience, having prayer at the altar, and going home. He mentored me, he counseled me, he spoke life into me, he rebuked me. I mean, he challenged me, and I feel like everybody needs that. As a preacher, he pushed me. He pushed me out there. And having that spiritual father, that spiritual support, who can see you at your lowest moments and who can see you at your high moments and still critique you and still encourage you and still empower you, it made a world of a difference. Because at that particular time in my life, I felt alone. I done made a step from going to my family church somewhere where I have no family at all. So I felt alone. But he just him and his spirit and his personality, he just wrapped arms around me, and he challenged me to like grow up. There will be times where he would fuss at me, he would rebuke me, and I'd be in my feelings, and I wouldn't call him for about a week or two. I'm like, I'm mad at Pastor. I'm not. But I had to very quickly get over that. There were times where I would fall in sin, and immediately I'm like, well, I already know Pastor knows, so let me just call. I already know. And it 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 said a lot. Even when I left his church and I married my husband, I mean, he was still there. And that's why I still call him my spiritual father to this day. Me and my husband, we sit down with him, we talk to him. He counsels us. He counsels us on being pastors. I mean, that's having a spiritual father unlocks a level in you that probably will stay locked up if you don't have him.
I totally agree.
So he unlocked just a mentality for myself to say, hey, I see this area where I'm struggling with in my life and I need to grow up. He unlocked that part of my psyche that makes me challenge myself. As a preacher, that makes me challenge myself. As a wife, as a Christian, as a disciple, as a leader, it makes me challenge myself. So when you have a spiritual father, it should be somebody that can pour into you at your lowest moments and that don't need anything from you. When you think about an earthly father, they don't need anything from you, but they give you everything that they have because they love you, they believe in you. So having a spiritual father, especially the right one, unlocks gifts in you. It unlocks purpose. It unlocks belief in yourself that you probably never would have come into contact had you not been with that person. So it has made a world of a difference in my life. And even to this day, it still makes a difference because as a leader, you need somebody who can say, hey, look, this is the path to go down, and that can lead you in the right direction.
Excellent. Excellent. So, like for the viewers that are watching, and want to get in contact with you, because even when you hear about you, I like your transparency and how you are encouraging persons. You have to be transparent with where you're at, what you're feeling, and the emotions that you are feeling. Like for the viewers that are watching now, like what programs can you elaborate on the programs that you offer and how they can get in contact with you, and is it anything without throughout 2018 that you are offering, or any up and coming conferences that you have coming up?
Absolutely. I am currently working on a lot of stuff. um, I am a full-time wife. I'm a full-time mommy to two little babies. Full-time pastor. I have a full-time job. And I have the movement, Dear Young Ladies.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, I'm really kind of trying to juggle it all, but I am working on some things, and contacting me on Facebook through Facebook Messenger. My Facebook is Chance Cunningham on here now. My actual name is Erica.
Mm-hmm.
About a year or two ago, I had a hack on my page, and I haven't been every page I've made with Erica on there on Facebook, they shut it down. So I've been a little afraid to put my actual name on there. But contacting me via Facebook Messenger, I would love for everybody to go and like the Dear Young Ladies Facebook page. If my
If
little
you have
husband,
somebody, if you have somebody on that is watching from your church, they can leave the link at the bottom
yeah,
of the interview. You can have somebody
absolutely, yeah, that's what
post
I
the
was gonna
link
say.
so those persons who are watching the interview can get in contact with your program and what you offer. They can leave the link
Hmm.
right in the message below.
Okay, so Ashley or Christian or Pastor, if y'all are on here, drop it down below. Um, but my Facebook page, Chance Cunningham, the Dear Young Ladies page, the Facebook page for Dear Young Ladies is Dear Young Ladies. Um, on there, you can find all of the upcoming events as we plan. I just had an event. It was called Dear Young Ladies Up Close and Personal, where I had a panel of women. I had my mentor, my first lady, and one of my friends. We were on the panel and we were just ministering to women. They were able to put questions in the box and we answered those questions. So that was an event we had in July. And as time go on, we will be uploading, different flyers about different events. We're currently in the planning process um, for more things. But you guys can follow me on there. I don't know if they're on, so I'm not sure if they're dropping it down. But my Facebook page, the Dear Young Ladies page, I am on Instagram. My name on Instagram is Erica Rashay.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find me on Instagram as well. And my email is ericarcunningham@gmail.com. And
Excellent.
so these are ways that you can find me, keep up with different things that's going on, different events, and contact me. I love when women, they inbox me questions or just comments, advice. I love being able to bond with you guys. Um, just being able to minister. So I don't take it lightly, and it's such a pleasure. It's such a delight to be able to do that. So you guys can inbox me, whatever. You'll get an answer.
Excellent. So what I would like you to do, Pastor Cunningham, is like before you go, I'd like you to speak, speak to the viewers, whatever message that God has laid on your heart to speak to this generation. I'd like you to take this opportunity and speak to the audience.
Absolutely. First of all, I thank you guys for even just listening and for tuning in. I just believe that if you would press past what you are going through right now, press past the process, endure the process, and keep going. Come out of your comfort zones. God is more than able to take you to a place in your life where you'll know who you are and you'll be able to embrace that. One thing God has really been pressing on my heart lately is just blocking out negativity. The devil wants to bring negativity, negative things, negative people. He wants to consume our minds with so many different distractions and different things to keep us off focus from kingdom work. And so one thing God has been speaking to me is you have too much to do to be focused on the negative. You have too much ministry to do. You have too many people to minister to be focused on the negative. So I just want to encourage you guys, be positive, think positive, link up with people who are positive people, who are going in the right direction, who can push you, who can hold you accountable, because there are so many things and so many blessings that God wants us to encounter in this season. And if we get distracted by the negativity, then we will be thrown off course. One thing that I have found to be a struggle, and something I'm really pushing for, is to not take things personal. Let's stop taking stuff so personal. Other people go through things, and I think as Christians we have to mature in our mentality. We have to mature in our walk with God to where we don't take things so personal. Count it, hey, charge it to the game. They going through something, they're struggling. It's something that they're dealing with. Let me stay positive, because the devil wants us to be distracted. And if there is a season or a time that we as Christians, as believers, as people, humans, whatever the case is, we should not be distracted, it's right now, because it's so much work to be done. There are so many women, so many men, so many young people who need to hear what's on the inside of you. So block out the negativity, embrace your process, and focus on the good so you can get kingdom work done.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pastor Cunningham. This was such a transparent interview for people just to look at things from a different perspective, not to take things personal. You showed us the importance of having a spiritual mentor. You showed us the importance of taking natural remedies, as far as what we can do naturally while we go through the process and stop making things so super spiritual. This interview was so enlightening. We just want to thank you here at Shine the Light for giving us the opportunity to
Thank
be
you
able
so
to
much.
interview you.
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. Let me tell you something. When I got your message, I was actually at work, and I work at an optometrist office, and I work in the lab making eyeglasses. And so I was just in the back, just making glasses. And then I got your message, and I was like, God, this is amazing. And one thing that really is amazing to me is the fact that you're from the Bahamas. Girl, let me tell you, okay? I love the Bahamas. I'm like in love with it. I went a few years ago, and that's just like my go-to place. I tell my husband all the time, can we just go to the Bahamas and just like spend a week or two? So it does my heart well to know somebody that's from my my dream place. But I'm so humbled. I'm so delighted to just be a part of this. Like I said earlier, this is a great thing that you are doing, and just to be able to share with you guys has been such a delight. I just pray that you all were blessed, and there was something that I said that was able to help you guys and encourage you guys to just keep going forward.
Yes, thank you so much. Once again, this is Kenita McCartney with Shine the Light.
Thank you. Bye, y'all.